Before the accident, I just started working. I had been working for GSD&M for about, I guess probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And it was my first paid vacation. So I was really excited about going, and Marty and I, good friend, we were going to the Chisos Mountains in Big Bend, and we were going to go backpacking and camping and that kind of thing. We went in and we were there for, like I said, about 2 or 3 days. Came down out of the mountains and went over into Boquillas, which is on the Mexican side of the border. And the last thing I really remember is ordering an enchilada plate. The owners there had said that, oh, my wife makes a great enchilada plate, so I was like, okay, I'll have that. And we'd had a few beers, not a lot, and that's really the last thing I remember. Apparently, I dove into the river. We went down to the hot springs. I dove into the river and broke my neck. And like I said, the last thing from ordering enchiladas to the next thing I remember was waking up in Lubbock in ICU, unable to move, and just like, what the hell's going on? I used my hands. I was pretty animated, so I used my hands a lot. And so when someone would ask me something, I'd be like, well, I can't use my hands anymore. So, you just figure out, it just changes everything. It's like waking up and your whole world's changed. Everything, the way you fit into it, the way it sees you, the way you see it, nothing was the same. So, I was 26. So at 26, you're far enough along to have a pretty good idea of where you fit and how things fit with you and what your ideas are. And so pretty much that was all turned upside down, which, it's not bad. It's just a lot to process. But the painting was one of those things that, my mom, after the accident, my mom was real insistent. She really pushed me to give it a try and try it. And, when she proposed, because my initial response was, what, with my mouth? How? Well, I didn't even do that. And she said, yeah, just try it. And I think one of the things that's appealing to me is you get you can touch things when you're actually painting. I can feel the canvas with the paintbrush, and I can, have some control over the paint, and you get that kind of tactile, just that it's wonderful, which, when you can't move and touch things with your hands, you miss a lot of that. Before the accident, I was really active. I ran every day, and so I needed that. Kind of physical interaction with the world. And so the painting for me was a way to continue doing that and being that way. It was like, wow, I can start with this blank canvas and actually make something and see it. And I really needed that to kind of keep going on and looking forward to what's next. I'll have a paintbrush, and then we'll use wooden dowels, and my dad will drill a hole in the end of the wooden dowel, and we'll put the paintbrush in there, tape it, and then I take strips of a t-shirt and I'll tie at the end of one of the wooden dowels, and then I just clamp down on it and go to town. Sometimes I really pound that canvas, and sometimes you use real light strokes, and I definitely take out some frustrations on that stuff. I can go, I can oscillate, up and down in the chair, and my dad built an easel for me that I can turn at different angles and that kind of stuff. And so, like I said, I'll go up to the top of the canvas and paint there, and go to the bottom, and just kind of wherever I can reach. And then I'll have my assistant flip it over or flip it to the side, or just however I can access it. It's just whatever you have to do to get it done, basically. Sometimes you look at trying to paint with your mouth, and it's so lengthy, and so it's laborious, and it's tough, and you go, this is crazy. And same thing, if I'm in bed and I'm not out of bed, I'm like, I can't move anything. You know, this is nuts. And then you get up and you go on and you just figure out that, wow, life's still incredible and beautiful and wonderful things still happen. And it's still great. I'm a lucky one, really. Very fortunate, very blessed. Because some people are, you know, you hear, like I said, horror stories about young people that are in nursing homes because they're paralyzed. They don't have the family and kind of the support system to help them, like I do. Whatever attention or, you know, any kind of platform that I could get myself through painting to tell people, you know, we've got to cure paralysis. We've got to figure out a way to do this. We've got to, you know, help people. Let's put an end to this paralysis thing. It's like, that's what I want to do. You know, that's keep painting, keep getting people's attention with that, and then, oh, by the way, we've got to get the hell out of the wheelchair. I can't wait. I'll keep painting when I'm out of the chair. It's like, I just, you know, let's get out of this wheelchair as quickly as possible. I guess people always use realism as a yardstick in terms of, wow, it looks just like a real photo. And I think the thistle, which is the one I painted for my mom, is about one of the more realistic paintings. Some of the flowers I've done more realistic, but you know, I get to at the end of the day, I'm like, man, I'm painting with my mouth. I'm just gonna do what I want to do on this damn thing. And so, you know, I'm not gonna paint for anybody else. I'm gonna find out what I like and find out the way I want to paint the flower or paint the person or whatever. And I want to get to a point where the work stands by itself, where they don't need any story to be like, oh my God, it's an incredible piece. That's ultimately what I'm trying to get to, is to be that kind of painter where it's just amazing and they don't have to know that I did it with my mouth. I'm still learning, I'm still working. You know, every painting, I want the next one I do to be better than the last one. So it's definitely this, I want progress and, you know, to be the best mouth painter ever.
I'm Mark Mederson. I work as a producer and camera operator, as a freelancer. I do contract work for different private companies, but I also do documentary film work on my own. I saw an article in the Austin American-Statesman about Docubloggers, and I read it from beginning to end, and I was just thrilled that there was something like this out there where people like me could produce product and not just have it sit there on a shelf or not just be out there in the vast space of the internet on YouTube. For me, that was just fantastic to know that it was airing in Austin and the potential for thousands of people to see it was there. That really meant a lot to me. When you interview people and I say, well, I'm trying to do a documentary, a short documentary that may get into some film festivals, then people are like, oh, well, so what? But when I can say, you know, potentially this is going to be on KLRU, you know, you can see people getting a little more excited about that because it's going to be on Docubloggers. If you're a filmmaker, I encourage you to submit to Docubloggers. It's a great outlet for your product.
Superpower Universe to me was a concept that it's super, it's fantastical. Pow, it's about friendship, and universal, universe. Because I didn't want it to just be oriented to one community. I thought it would be really cool if, you know, there's a band in Austin, there's a band in New York, there's a band in San Francisco, there's a band in Hong Kong, and it's always different kids. But they're kids that are community driven, that write their own music, that eventually would also be producing their own TV show. They would be running the camera and the sound and helping to write the scripts. So it becomes its own little world run and driven by kids, which I don't think is an improbability. It's just finding adults that can help support that common theme.
Let's see. This is a new one. I haven't put lyrics to it yet, but here it goes.
It was a lot of work by a lot of different people, and we had auditions at the Gibson showroom here in Austin, Texas, and it was really fun. Lots of different kids coming out and singing and playing instruments and performing, all different ages and ethnicities. Very fun. That was one of my favorite things about this whole project, was just watching the variety of talent.
The auditions were like nerve-wracking, but they're fun too. Like, it's like the first audition I ever went to.
For the audition, I didn't think I was gonna make it because I thought there were a lot of kids better than me, but then I was called back. So then I was called back like 3 more times, and I got excited and got it, and it was pretty cool.
Wow. Well, I love making music. I've been making music since I was 6 or 7 years old, and the first time I got on stage I was 8. And both my daughters make music, and there's just this. I think the time for making music right now is great for kids. There's a lot of support, and there's a lot of capacity for kids to make the kind of music they're hearing in their heads. So I thought a band would be a natural leaning for me to get involved with kids. And so it wasn't hard to find kids in Austin that make music. There's a lot of music going on here, and they get to say what they want to say through music, and it's fun to dance to, and kids can sing along, and it's just, what better way to express yourself as a kid than to get a loud instrument and rock it out.
The Mohawk show was really fun, but I was really glad we did that performance before ACL because there was a lot of little kinks we had to work out. It was our first performance too, so that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was
cool though. I thought it was really good for our first performance.
It had a lot of energy. It was a lot of fun to see what all the people's reaction was, and it was cool.
Okay, so this is a personal song I wrote called You and Me, and we're gonna rock it out for you now. So if you wanna get up and dance, you do it.
ACL a couple years ago was what got me started thinking that I liked music. So it was really fun to get to play there. And I had a lot of friends like come during school and come watch, and that was really great.
That was a lot of fun to see, like, all the people out there watching us play music at ACL, and yeah.
And normally the kids stage in the past years has been like under a tent in like a little stage, so it was really exciting that we got to be on like a big stage.
The music is intended to be message driven. I wanted kids who are concerned about the environment, concerned about their community, concerned about issues as varied as homelessness to drugs and alcohol. I mean, I don't see why kids can't be talking about those issues, because they are, and it affects their environment, their world. And I think what greater vehicle than kids singing and making music that's fun to dance along and sing along to than kids, because kids really listen to what other kids are talking about.
HAM is the Health Alliance for Austin Musicians. HAM. It's right here on the box. And HAM is about helping musicians, because like being a musician isn't always the best way to get money, and so sometimes it's a little bit hard to like make a living and get the food we need and health insurance and stuff like that. So Ham helps us out.
Thanks for coming out here tonight to support Ham. We get a big shout out for Ham, please. And all the bands who played here today. Want to introduce Super Pal Universe. Give a big hand.
Pop-driven activism to me is, it signifies that there's depth to these songs. They're still fun, they're still engaging, but instead of just being these kind of broken-hearted love songs, you know, or just mindless fluff that you can dance to, there's actually a message, and the kids are presenting the message to other kids.
We've got to do something about this. But what can we do? We're just kids.
You guys, we can get other kids in the community involved.
Hey! I just invented this special device that will turn us into superheroes that can fight littering and pollution. Cool! No way!
Dude, that rocks!
Hey, you guys, watch this!
Whoa!
Oh my goodness!
This is my dream. My dream is that the kids go out, they continue to have success, they build their brand name, they become this amazing band, and they get to go out and open for bands they love and go from there. And in the meantime, there's other bands in other communities around the world of different ethnicities, different ages. There could be all girl bands, there could be all boy bands, you know. And there's different mentor programs in each city where other musicians who are adult musicians get involved in helping kids to form these bands and network and learn about the business and create CDs and lunch boxes and whatever, you know, goes on with that stuff. Because to me, that's just more empowering of our future generations, you know, and kids making music, which, again, it's just, it's a short life that we have, and I think kids should be able to live it and celebrate it and use their passion and their sense of community to build a better world.
3, 2, 1.
Maker Faire is it's a family-friendly 2-day event. A lot of hands-on activity, and it's designed to sort of celebrate the DIY spirit in arts, crafts, science, technology, and engineering. When people ask what's it like, I say it's a little bit like county fair meets crafts fair meets science fair meets farmers market. And Burning Man too. If you're from California, you might know what that means. We looked at cities that actually had a strong technology base, since most of the folks that are involved in making, or a lot that we've had, or where we started, were engineers or scientists, and they really were building rockets and robots and whatnot. And Austin has, with the UT Austin here, with a lot of the tech companies, it seemed like a natural fit. And then put the overlay of Austin being a festival town, it seemed to work perfectly. A lot of kids aren't getting into science and engineering. So we believe that that's kind of an important path to go down. We're looking at other cities, and after we do a Maker Faire, we'll get calls from and emails from everyone. Our goal is to really make makers and inspire anyone of any age to make or create or take someone else's recipe and make it their own.
Maker Faire is great because everybody here is tinkerers. You know, if you want an electric car like this, it's people that typically don't mind wanting to tinker around and do unusual things. So yeah, it's a great location. Lots of interest. It's good for kids. I like the fact that it's geared towards keeping young guys here and young girls to learn more about technology. It's important nowadays there's so many technology jobs that aren't here in the U.S., I think it's important for kids to really want to encourage hands-on type work, and this is the place. So this is a 1949 Jeep, and it's all electric. It's been converted over, runs about 50 miles on electric. And we use this vehicle to teach people how to take older cars. It's typically cars that are 10 years or older, cars that we all consider junkers, and how to convert them over to make them all electric. And we hold classes once a month. We have clubs. We have clubs in Austin and Dallas to, help people that are interested in doing this. I've seen everything here. Like I said, I just saw the electric armadillo running by and the mousetrap. It's just neat. And there's also the high schools that are doing the robotics competition. So that's neat. Our company actually sponsors part of that. And it was neat to see the high school kids here making their little robots and stuff for the future of America.
We also try to encourage, and by Maker Faire kind of coming back to Austin every year, what we try to do is encourage new projects and new things for people to show. So it's kind of like the old county fair where people came together once a year to show off their crops or their animals. What we'd like here is to kind of create like a little festival where people are showing what they've done to a community that actually would appreciate it.
Trailerites. We know that word from the 1954 full-length movie called The Long, Long Trailer that was Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, and it is a riot. They called themselves Trailerites, so I guess we're the next generation of Trailerites.
We're the new gypsies. Having trailers, with the economy, going to hell, it's actually a very practical way to live right now. Instead of trying to own a house or even rent a place, renting a little piece of land and having your own house, so to speak, is a real viable way to live. And for people like us who are trying to make a living as artists, it's probably the only way to live right now. In a way, I suppose I identify with this aspect of the orphan trains, which is this dislocation, relocation. That's been a constant theme in my life.
Alison had come to stay in Fayetteville, and that's when we found out about the orphan trains. This was during the period between 1854 and 1929. These were unwanted children, these were orphaned children, these were children who were living on the streets of New York City. And the Children's Aid Society was an organization that was put together to try to do something to help these children. So they were put on these trains and sent pretty much to all points west. I think every state in the Union at the time received some number of children.
The amazing thing about it to us when we first heard about it was that we didn't know about it, and everybody we talked to had never heard about this amazing part of American history. It was not in history books, but there had been a PBS documentary that was made in '95 for the American Experience, and that was really our first exposure to it. A creative writing student of mine, a graduate student, had asked me if I'd ever heard about the orphan trains, and I had not. She said, well, you need to see this documentary. But before I even saw it, I was just haunted by those two words. Orphan trains. I thought, what in the world is that? And then when we actually saw the images and heard the stories of these people who were now in their 90s talking about how they had been put on trains with no idea where they were going. They were being given away to total strangers who showed up at these train stations. I just, as a writer, I thought that this is my subject. So we started doing research. We went to some reunions. We went to the first Orphan Train reunion, which was really a reenactment. First reunion for us was in Arkansas in '97. We dressed up in period costume and got our instruments and rode on the train with about 23 children dressed up in period costume, and with maybe about 12 actual Orphan Train riders.
So we ended up getting a grant through the Arkansas Humanities Council for 3 years, and which is also one of the initiatives that allowed Alison to quit her tenure track job in Arizona and come to Arkansas, and we then started going out 15 to 20 programs a year.
It's a multimedia program now that's evolved over the years, and it always at the core was music and this story that I wrote about. When we're singing, there's images behind us of the children, and then I do a recitation. Actually, I've done this story so many times that I've memorized it, and I actually do it off book now and can add a little bit of drama to it, more than I could if I was reading it off the page.
They don't want girls on this train. You got to be tiny or ugly to ride. I feel sorry for you boys because, well, everybody's sons are in the war, and there's going to be all those fields for you to plow.
The Children's Aid Society was a gathering organization for orphanages in the New York area. And the children would be brought there. They would be given a shower, a new suit of clothes, a little cardboard suitcase, and a Bible. And they would be told that the next day they'd be getting on a train and they would be going out west to find new homes. Some children were told, actually, I found out later, that they were actually told that their real parents were waiting for them out west. And some of these children were taught songs and dances and things to do to endear themselves to prospective parents. It was really, by today's standards, you know, it's very poignant. And also not much consideration, I think, for the children. It was the end result they had in mind, to find homes for these children. But siblings were separated in these lineups. They'd get to a town, the children would be lined up on the platform, and people would come and pick and choose.
Once I rode an orphan train.
So Phil and I both come from homes that were lacking one parent for different reasons, and having to make our way and find out, again, who we are and where we belong.
Anyone who's ever felt loss can identify with this story, but at the same time, it's not one of being totally devastated. There seems to be a certain element of the will to go on. When you have a program, or you, as artists, whether it's literature or music, when you have an element that you're able to take out to people and move them in such a way, and we have such a really good way of connecting with people. As an artist, I couldn't think of anything more valuable than that.
Become a docublogger. Log on to docubloggers.org to share your opinions and story ideas, or get out your camera and create your own docublog.